Now, ladies and gents, our royal panel. We have got our usuals, but not as we usually have them. Sarah Hewson and Esther Krakow, thank you so much for joining us. We're out the front of Buckingham Palace today, which is obviously super exciting, beautiful weather. Sarah, I will start with you. Let's talk about Harry very briefly. We know he's coming back to the UK. We know the family rift is still, lingering. There has been talk about a summit, but where do you think that that's actually going to land?
I just don't see it landing at the moment. He is coming back to the UK. He's going to be in London on the eve of the anniversary of the Queen's death. He's going to be attending the Well Child Awards, a charity that he's patron of. He was due to be attending those awards last year. He had to pull out because it was the day that the Queen died. He's going to be in London, but his father, the King, will still be in Balmoral in Scotland, and I don't think there's any chance that he's going to be having a meet-up with his brother, William. And for the first time, when Harry arrives in the UK, he's going to find himself homeless, because he's had to hand back the keys to Frogmore Cottage now. And in quite a humbling turn of events for him, he's going to have to ask permission from Buckingham Palace for access to an apartment on one of the royal estates, unless he wants to book himself a hotel or kip on a mate's sofa. So it really is a sign of just how great that gulf is between him and his family.
And Esther, do you see it changing?
I don't see it changing in the short term, which is quite unfortunate because, again, whenever we talk about the rift in the royal family with the Sussexes and King Charles and Prince William, I talk about the children, because effectively you have their children not knowing one half of their family and one half of their identity, which is why I found it very strange that they insisted on giving them their titles, because why would you give your children titles from an institution that they effectively are estranged from? But unfortunately, as things stand, we know that William is still very irate after the revelations in his book Spare, which were very, very incendiary, to say the least. And obviously, I know King Charles is far more sympathetic to his son. He did invite him to his coronation, and I know deep down he's hoping for some sort of reconciliation, but I really don't see that happening in the short term.
And just before I move on, very interestingly, there was some reporting this week talking about their brand and about how Meghan and Harry respond differently to their brand. Where do you think their brand is in 6 months' time?
I think their brand is actually a bit more individualistic. And I've seen, trends of that, because obviously Meghan had her own podcast. We can see that she's gearing up to write her own books and do work that's kind of independent of Prince Harry and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex brand. So I see them trying to carve their own space in a way and be that sort of power couple, but have their own separate ventures. And that will usually typically fuel, rumours of splits or chaos in the Sussex household. But I think that's a strategy that they're going for because they really want people to know them independently. I don't think Prince Harry was ever very comfortable with the whole Hollywood kind of Netflix spotlight thing that was outside of what he likes to do, like the Invictus Games and, things that he's passionate about. But Meghan is different. She's more comfortable in that space. She's apparently friends with the likes of Oprah and Serena Williams. So she's more comfortable being in the space with, a bunch of A, B, Z-listers.
As long as they're on the celebrity
exactly.
circuit.
As long as they're linked to some sort of tabloid, she's happy there. And she's going to use that and exploit it. Obviously, there have been rumours about Meghan looking to the world of politics and maybe potentially following the steps of the Obamas. Again, we don't have any confirmation there, but it's not something that would be surprising because she's always been quite politically conscious in that way.
And I agree with you that I think they can actually achieve more apart professionally now because they're trying to do it together, and that has been very controversial indeed. And when you look at Prince Harry's recent endeavours in Singapore and Tokyo, for example, he's more relaxed on his own. He's very protective over Meghan. He's very conscious that he's brought her into this sphere. He's brought her into the public limelight, and as a result she's been on the receiving end of a lot of abuse, of a lot of trolling, as a lot of criticism. And when you see them out together, he is very protective, he's much more guarded. When you see him on his own engagements, and particularly when it's around his charities, the things he's really passionate about, you get a glimpse of the old Harry again. And I think we're going to see them both focus on what they are good at and try and rebuild brand Sussex.
And just to pick up from there, we spoke a couple of weeks ago about the changes on the royal website. We understand there's been more changes to the royal website, but also on what what royals are good at. There was some great coverage this week that came out about the Walesers, and they were in their rescue kit. I just thought that was sensational.
Now, Kate and William have found themselves on the front covers of many publications, usually rather glamorously dressed, a little less so on this occasion. They're on the front page of Mountain Rescue magazine wearing red waterproofs and walking boots. And this is, William is patron of Mountain Rescue in England and Wales. They were on an engagement in April, and we learned a bit more about behind the scenes, that their advisors have specifically asked for this engagement to be hands-on, to be informal. This is a couple who don't want to be turning up and just planting a tree and unveiling a plaque. They want to be getting involved, so we see them carrying stretchers, they're descending a rock face, for example. They went to the local rugby club for some drinks, they went to a pizza van and ordered pizzas for all of the crew. And I think we're seeing more of that, engagements that they're interested in, but engagements that they can actually get involved in as well.
And I think that's something that the Sussexes might and should want to emulate, because we've seen that, you know, Kate and William, although they have their separate charities and patronages and things that they're passionate about independently of each other, they work very well together. And so they, as a brand, both individually and you know, as the Prince and Princess of Wales, they work very well together, and they understand how to basically harness the power of being a couple, but also being very powerful individuals. And I think that's something that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex haven't really got yet. And that's something I think they'll try and work on over the next few years.
And harnessing the power of being a family as well,
yes,
when they bring their children into
yes,
play and when not, because we know, you know, you bring Prince Louis out and his box office.
Yeah. We all turn up for Louis, don't we? So, Sarah, one last question. Mike Tindall, one of my all-time favourite royals, he is going to prison for television.
Yes, following his success on I'm a Celebrity in the Jungle, he is going into prison, HMP The Mount, here in the UK, and he is going in with some of his 2003 Rugby World Cup winning teammates, and they are going to train inmates there to take on an Australian team, a team of expat Australian rugby players. And they're trying to harness the power of sport in rehabilitation. But I think what we'll all be looking out for is some of those nuggets that we got from Mike Tindall during his time in the Jungle, like the anecdote about being at a wedding and dancing rather vigorously in front of his mother-in-law, Princess Anne, ripping his trousers and revealing his nibble my nuts underpants. To her bemusement, perhaps?
Yeah, we'll call it that.
Yeah.
We'll call it that.